to Diana's Diary Room, a recap of the Big Brother live feeds for July 24th and 25th. I'll make sure I'm right. Yep, it's July 24th and 25th. And we're covering what's going on inside the Big Brother house, strategy-wise. Now, last I left you, Ashley had just got done making a big scene, crying in front of Jojo, Shane, and Jen, saying she missed Kara. She never talked to Kara, and that she feels guilty for voting her out, made a mistake, her team's so horrible, blah, 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 blah. In this little crying session, she says that Frank and Ian have a final two deal, and she doesn't trust them at all. Now, this sets off alarm bells for Jen, and Jen goes and checks it out. Well, that didn't make Ashley happy. Ashley told the people who questioned her about it that Jen blew it out of proportions. When Jen said, I didn't blow it out of proportions, she said, oh, my team blew it out of proportions. She went to Brittany's team and said, my team attacked me when they asked her, did you cry? And she did cry. And it was, oh, maybe I'm getting paranoid, I don't know. To Shane, Jojo, and Brittany, her team are these monsters who treat her horribly. To her team, Jen has blown it out of proportion, and to Jen, her team has blown it out of proportion. Everybody else gets the blame but Ashley. So the next morning happens, and Jen and Ashley are outside, and Ashley gets a little ballsy and says to Jen, so I don't understand why I couldn't say anything without you spreading it around. And Jen says, you gave some information that is vital to my game, and I have the right to check it out, and I didn't blow it out of proportion. Now, Jen spends the next 4 or 5 hours really not happy that Ashley confronted her in front of Brittany and Danielle, and Jen said, can we go talk about this privately? Ashley said no, but Ashley was being very passive-aggressive, trying to make Jen look like crap in public, and Jen didn't like that very much. Later, they go into the lounge, whatever you want to call this room. I call it the lounge, some people call it the arcade, although there are no games in it. Anyhow, they go into the arcade, and they talk it out, and they're going to, Ashley's like, I'm going to take care of you. And Ashley has something going with just about everybody in the house. She's got a sob story for everybody. She's unloved. She's uncared for by her team, to her team. Everybody else is... It's really amazing. Now, either this girl is freaking insane or an evil genius. And I can't tell which at this point. I mean, I thought it was all game. Very manipulative, all game. But then her DRs are just like the dumbest idiot on the face of the earth kind of DRs. And I'm thinking, well, if she's given DRs where she's smart, they sure aren't showing them. And if I was an intelligent person and I was in the Big Brother house, I certainly wouldn't allow them to, I wouldn't go as dumb as she's going in the DRs. I just wouldn't do it. I mean, they could say, well, be a little ditzy. Sorry, I can fake ditzy and I can fake not ditzy. I don't understand why she's giving DRs that are so crazy. All right, moving on. Brittany, in a moment of desperation, after she's drank quite a bit, goes to Janelle and starts with the whole coaches competition thing again. Or not the coaches comp, but the coaches joining the game. And you and me, and who are we going to be up against in the end? We got to get rid of Dan. The whole bit, Frank's dangerous. Lots of talking. It must have got to Janelle, because Janelle then goes out to the hammock to talk to Will about it. And she again says, I don't trust Frank, and here's what's going to happen, and what if I come in and I'm, blah, blah, blah. Well, Will and Joe have decided to work with Frank, and they have decided not to tell Janelle anything that's going on. She speaks to Joe about it that night. She speaks to Will about it that night. The next morning, they get together and say, we're not telling Janie anything. We're going to vote Ashley out before we vote Frank out. Okay, well, here's the thing about this. Frank is upstairs in the HOH with Boogie, and they've made plans to vote out Frank, Will, and Joe next week, not by their own hands, but by Shane and Danielle's. So here's what's going to happen. Boogie has gone to Shane and said, hey, we give you a chance to play POV. Shane hates Janelle because she put him on top, even though every coach was going to do it. And Shane believes that Janelle is the devil incarnate, and he sits around and mopes about her all day long. So he's definitely going to put up 2 of her team. And then there's Danielle. He works a deal with Dan that Danielle will put up 2 from Janelle's team. Now, I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but Boogie believes that everybody in the house is going to put up 2 people from Janelle's team, so he wants his team to throw it. So Frank's got Joe and Will believing that they're going to work together, and so they're ignoring Janelle. Meanwhile, he's got Shane and Danielle going to play for HOH. His team is going to throw it, and they're going to hope that Shane and Danielle beat out Janelle's team, Will, Ashley, and Joe, in the HOH, and then put up 2 of Janelle's team. All right, that's Will and Joe's big plan. And nobody in this house is actually loyal to another person in this house. They all badmouth each other. They all have side things going on. And here's another instance of one. Ian and Ashley. Now, Ian and Ashley have the secret alliance that nobody's supposed to know about. At the same time, Ashley's walking around the house bashing Ian left and right, making him a target. But Ian, I would say that Ian is the actual only person in this entire house who's actually loyal to other players. I'm not talking about coaches, because Janelle is loyal to her team, Boogie is loyal to his team, Dan is loyal to Danielle. I'm talking about the players. And the players, none of them, they all have these side deals, they're all unloyal. So Ashley and Ian have this moment in the hammock where they're talking to each other and saying how secure they are. And so about the only person in this entire house is Ian. Now, next is Jojo. Now, Jojo has spent the last couple of days campaigning to Shane nonstop in the have-not room. These two are coming up with brilliant strategy plans that the other teams came up with a week ago. I mean, come on. And it's the same thing, repetitive, and it's the pity party in the have-not room between Shane and Jojo. So Shane is sort of going to work with Frank next week if Jojo leaves, but if Jojo stays, he'll work with Frank again. I don't know. Frank thinks he's going to make it to the final 2, no problem. He's set. He's got his eyes on the finals. It's week 2. All right. Next thing that happens, so Jojo goes up to Frank after now, first of all, Brittany tells Jojo, don't talk about someone going through Frank's bag. Don't talk about the cigarette deal, and we'll get to Cigarette Gate in a minute. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. Pitch Dan has to go. That's what you have to pitch. Jojo goes up to Frank and spills everything that Brittany told her not to do. Then she campaigns, it's Wednesday night, she campaigns to everybody in the house saying the whole thing. Let's get Ian and Jen over with us and Ashley, and then we'll go against everybody else. It makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't anybody want to do this? Why wouldn't anybody want to flip on their own alliance and come over to me and Shane, who are hated by the whole house? I don't understand why nobody wants to do this. No matter what anybody says to her, Brittany, Shane, Frank, anybody, Jojo refuses to hear it. She just refuses to hear it. She'll say, no, I know, but, and she won't hear it. At one point today, Shane had to say to Jojo, Ashley's telling you she's not going to vote with you. Jojo, oh, yeah, no, I know. Oh, my God. All right, now the funny part of this entire thing between Frank and Jojo is that Boogie's laying on the couch pretending to sleep, and his foot is twitching, and he's got his face buried in a pillow trying to cover up his laughter. Then the DR gets evil on him and calls him to the DR, and he's got to pretend to wake up and stretch and act like he wasn't awake the whole time. It was pretty funny. That was a funny moment of the day. All right, so Frank and Boogie hauled Jen up to the HOH and tell her their plans, that they want her to throw the HOH to Shane or Danielle. And she's like, okay, cool. Ashley's not on my hit list of people I like anyhow. And if they put up 2 people, it's not a big deal to me. So the 2 Boogie Janelle alliances are getting ready to go to war. So then he pulls Ian up. Now Boogie's acting all, I'm going to educate you. And now Boogie has this thing going on where he's going to educate people, including Dan. And he's telling things to Ian. And he says to Ian, I did all of this. We got Shane to do this. We got Danielle to do this. So we need you to throw HOH. And I want you to listen to this clip because I love me some Ian. He says, now roll with this. And he educates Sir Boogie of Chilltown in how you see strategy.
Right. Quick. So you're comfortable dumping the HOH to him if you get in that position?
If we're rolling a ball and Shane's in the winner's circle and I'm the last one left, I'll just like do a convincing hurl or like right into the hole.
Yeah. Or a question.
Sure.
Yeah. Because I don't think there's anyone who's going to nominate us.
I think I'm good.
Definitely fine.
Here's the other thing I'm thinking.
Then the next week we'll have 3 people.
It's actually, we don't know what the status of the whole coaches comp is. Like, we don't know that if the immunity's still going to be in play, but we need to assume it is for strategic purposes. And I thought about this a million times. We, as a unit, are actually much, much safer if Shane were to win HOH than if Will or Joe were, because, roll with this. Say Joe wins Head of House. Say Brittany wins the coach's comp. Shane is safe. And then Danielle somehow gets the veto. It ain't gonna be Ashley and fucking Will.
Right.
Yeah. It's gonna be me and
we might be able to talk Joe into it. Yeah. But yes, I see your point.
Okay, now, wasn't that great? Ian provides strategy that Boogie had not even thought about, and it's good strategy. He says basically it's better for Shane or Danielle to actually win HOH this week, because if they get put up and Shane gets pulled off from a POV or Danielle gets pulled off from a POV, one of ours is going up. Ding, 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 ding. Boogie had not figured that out yet, and I just think Shane is underestimated by his team. Frank thinks he's an idiot. Not an idiot, but Frank thinks he's never going to step up, things like that. All right, tonight, Cigarette Gate came to a head. Last night, Joe got fairly drunk. He drank a bottle of wine and 2 or 3 beers. I don't know. There were several of them that got pretty well toasted last night. Joe was one of them. He went to Jojo and he had some memorabilia and he wanted to trade her memorabilia for 2 packs of cigarettes. And she said, I just want your vote. Joe said, okay, you got my vote. Swear on my kids. Yeah, I swear on my kids. You had my vote. Da da da. And then he says, Will and I would like to work with you and Shane. I wasn't quite sure what he was doing. I didn't know if he was drunk, too drunk to realize what he was saying or doing. Big talker that he is. Everybody in the house kind of makes fun of Joe's tall tales. And so, what is Joe doing? And Joe also likes to instigate things because he likes drama in the house. He's like, this is pretty boring. I want to go start a fight. And what you saw with Willie. He knew Willie was going to go over the edge. It didn't take much pushing. And, well, you saw it. So, Joe goes today after she kind of figures out, I'm leaving this game. She goes and takes the cigarettes back. Now, Brittany and Jojo are sitting in, I think, the lounge. And Joe's upstairs in the HOH. She goes, she took my cigarettes back. And so Boogie and Janelle have kind of been wanting to see fireworks go off today. They've tried a few things with Danielle and didn't work. So they're like, well, go confront her. So he goes into the parlor room, lounge, whatever the hell that room is. And he says, did you take the cigarettes? And she's like, yeah, I want to make sure I'm staying before you get the cigarettes. And he said, I thought that the cigarettes were for a vote. And she said, yeah, vote my way and I'll do it. And Brittany's like, wait, what? And she's like, give the man a cigarette, for God's sakes. Because here he is promising her a vote. And now she's like, if I stay, you can have it. And he's like, okay. All right. So what happens here is Joe goes in. He says, I'm going to give you the vote. Then he goes to Frank. He tells everybody, I'm going to give her a vote. Janelle goes, oh, my God, get in here. She pulls him aside and says, do you not understand that if you give her a vote and Danielle wins HOH, that's a reason to put you up instead of Shane? Oh, really? Ooh. Oh, now Joe's all remorseful, goes back and says, I shouldn't have done that, explains it to Dan, I just wanted cigarettes, I wanted to trade her memorabilia, then she said I wanted to vote, I said I'd give her a vote, I told everybody, blah, 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 blah. All right. Frank tells Janelle stuff, Janelle confronts Jojo. It's a whole bunch of junk, you know. These people are just crazy. The cigarette gate is over now. Joe has reneged. He's giving the cigarettes back. And Jojo pretty much realizes she's going home. Now, something crucial happens to the Boogie Frank plan of throwing the HOH. And Frank made a mistake tonight. Boogie doesn't know about it yet. But Ian told Frank that it was likely that Frank would get to pick the order of who was playing the hockey game in the HOH tonight. So Frank is trying to mend fences with Janelle because he spilled some information he shouldn't have, and now her team's getting a little nervous. So while he's down there trying to talk to her team and assure her that Ian and Jen are not voting to keep Jojo, he says, and Ian told me that I get to pick the order. And Janelle says, yes. And if you get to pick the order, you need to pick Shane first. And he's like, why? And she says, Shane goes first. We know what we have to aim for, and we have 5 people to go after him. So Frank agrees to pick Shane first, then Janelle's team, Joe, Will, Ashley, and then Ian and Jen. So it makes it a lot harder to throw an HOH when everybody knows the score they have to beat and there's 5 chances afterwards to do it. It just is less convincing to aim it off. I mean, yeah, you can really screw it up, but it's hard to do. So I wanted to talk about Brittany for a second, and I don't know if you've noticed, but Brittany's pretty much given up. She's just, there is no fire left in Brittany. Her DRs are not funny, and in the house they're saying, well, Brittany's missing her husband, yada, yada, yada. Here's what I think it is. When Brittany is surrounded by friends and she's got protection, it's a lot easier for her to be cocky and funny and, you know, all that swagger she's got going on. Brittany is not used to being on the losing end or not surrounded by a large alliance. Brittany's used to being on the popular side of the house, not the side that's most hated. She doesn't know. She's uncomfortable in this water. She doesn't know where to go from here. And she really didn't help Jojo one iota for the last couple of days. She just said, let it be. Don't campaign too soon. And then when Jojo finally did go campaign on Wednesday, she said, don't say this, don't say that, don't say this. Of course, Jojo said all those things. And then Brittany gave her a stern talking to. Brittany's pretty much thrown her hands up in the air and said, I'm done. I think it's a lack of being confident, and she's not used to not being on the popular side of, not on the unpopular side of the house. As far as Shane goes, I am duly unimpressed with his boo-hoo, sit around and whine routine he's got going. Everybody's horrible. He's a real person. He's a good person. He deserves to be here. Jojo deserves to be here. Everybody else is an idiot. Well, okay, I don't disagree totally with that, but the point is he's no better. Okay, let's talk about Danielle for just 1 second. Danielle has grown on me a little bit this week. But at the same time, Danielle is overly sensitive and doesn't want to assert herself. And this is going to be a problem for her. She's going to be seen as this little lamb that anybody can manipulate at any time. Danielle was in a hammock with Shane and Ashley and got a whole bunch of dirt. She could have taken that dirt, which was very inflammatory towards Frank and Ian, and she could have gone to them and assured herself, you know, instead of sitting there going, well, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? What'd they say about me? What'd they say about me? What'd they say about me? Instead of doing that, she could have said, Dan, this is what I know. This is what I heard directly out of these 2 people's mouths. And here are, you know, their complaints. And Ashley and Shane flat out ripping Frank and Ian to pieces, saying that they gotta go, they don't trust either one of them. She could have marched upstairs, been assertive, and said, you need to know this about these 2 people, because that puts her in closer to Boogie's side and puts Shane further back. And, Shane's been seen as Boogie as, a big guy, so he could be a benefit to us, and Ashley or Danielle's worthless. She could have earned big points in Boogie's eyes had she done it, but she will not assert herself, and that's Danielle's biggest problem other than being hurt by everything someone says about her in the house. It's Big Brother. You're gonna get smack talked about. Everybody does.